All right, let's dive right in. We live in a world that's just always in flux, right? The old rule books for how to run a business, they just don't work anymore. So today, we are talking about a totally new playbook, one that treats strategy not as some dusty plan on a shelf, but as a series of bold, decisive actions.
Look, I know it's a pretty provocative thing to say, but here's the deal. Traditional strategic planning, the kind that ends up in a 3-ring binder nobody ever reads, it was built for a world that was stable, and our world is anything but. Competition today is fast, it's disruptive, and it is absolutely relentless.
But just how fast are we talking? Well, get this. Take the airline industry. In the 8 years right after it was deregulated back in 1978, the average number of competitive moves a single company made each year, it jumped by 2.5 times. The game was already speeding up decades ago, and it hasn't slowed down since. And it's not just about how companies compete, it's about what they're making. Toyota, for example, can now develop a brand new car in 18 months or even less. Just think about that for a second. The time it takes to go from a sketch on a napkin to a car in the showroom has been squeezed down so much it makes holding on to any kind of long-term advantage incredibly difficult.
So, this brings us to the new reality. We are officially in an era of what you could call disruptive competition. What that means is, any edge you have, any advantage you gain, it's temporary. The second you make a winning move, you better believe your rivals are already figuring out how to copy it, counter it, and make it irrelevant. The only way to stay ahead? You gotta keep moving.
And that leads to the most important point of all this. We need a huge shift in how we think. We have to stop seeing strategy as a noun, a thing, a document, a position, and start treating it like a verb. It's an action. It's a constant, dynamic process of doing. The old way of thinking, the stuff you might see in classic models like Porter's 5 Forces, it was all about finding a safe, profitable position in your industry and then defending it like a castle. But the new view? It's about a non-stop series of moves and countermoves. It's more like a high-speed chess match than building a fortress. It's not about where you are, it's about what you do. Okay, so this right here, this is the core idea. Strategy as action isn't about that one brilliant idea that sets you up for life. No way. It's a continuous duel, a constant back and forth where you're always trying to build up your own advantages, while at the very same time you're trying to chip away at your competitors. So how does this actually work in the real world? Let's trace the journey of a company, starting where so many great ones do, as the underdog. You're the new kid on the block. You don't have a lot of cash, but you've got something priceless. You're quick on your feet. You have agility. Right, so when you're small, you can't just walk up and pick a fight with the industry giants. You don't have the resources or the muscle for a long drawn-out war. So what do? What's your opening move to even get in the game? You start with what we call entrepreneurial action. These are the clever, creative, out-of-the-box moves that nobody sees coming. You're on the hunt for opportunities that the big, established players have totally missed because they're too busy protecting what they already have. You find and exploit their blind spots.
And what's cool is, these aren't some high-level, abstract ideas. They're real-world tactics. We're talking about launching a totally new kind of service, moving into a town the big guys have ignored, or even inventing a whole new business model. It's all about being nimble and smart.
Under Armour is just the perfect story here. Kevin Plank wasn't trying to beat Nike at their own game. He just had a really simple problem that somehow the giants had completely overlooked. His cotton t-shirts got heavy and disgusting with sweat. So he created a solution. And in doing that, he basically invented an entire new category of clothing. That is a textbook entrepreneurial action.
Okay, so let's fast forward a bit. Your clever moves have paid off. You've grown. You've got resources. You're not the scrappy underdog anymore. Now you're a leader. And guess what? The whole game changes, which means your strategy has to change too.
So now the big question isn't how do we break in, it's how do we stay on top. You've got real strengths to play with, and you've got turf that you need to defend. So what kinds of actions do you take now? This is where you shift to what are called Ricardian actions. These are moves that are all about leveraging your unique resources, the stuff that's really hard, if not impossible, for others to copy. We're talking about patents, secret technology, or just a killer brand. Think about Gillette. They aren't just selling razors. They're leveraging decades of manufacturing secrets and a huge wall of patents that makes it almost impossible for anyone to compete head-on.
But hey, sometimes you have to play a little rougher. That's where deterrent actions come in. These are moves you make to get your rivals to think twice before they even dream of attacking you. Maybe you signal that you're willing to start a price war, or you flood the market with so many different products there's just no shelf space left. It's about making the price of admission to your market look painfully, painfully high.
I mean, the war between Coke and Pepsi is a masterclass in this stuff. When Pepsi launched the Pepsi Challenge, it was a direct shot at the king. The president of Pepsi, John Scully, famously told his team to go for Coke's jugular. It was such a direct threat that it forced Coke, the leader, to get aggressive, and it kicked off one of the most legendary rivalries in business history.
Okay, so we've seen how to attack when you're small and how to defend when you're big, but there's a third, kind of master-level way to play this game, and that's winning by not fighting. What if the goal isn't just to win the war, but to actually win the peace?
Now that might sound a little weird, right? Isn't business supposed to be all about cutthroat competition? Well, yeah, but a constant all-out war is exhausting. It's expensive, and a lot of the time it just hurts everybody in the industry. Sometimes the absolute smartest, most profitable move is to calm things down.
You do this with what are known as cooperative actions. Now, to be clear, this isn't about illegal price fixing or backroom deals. It's much more subtle. It's about signaling to your competitors, about creating an unspoken understanding that, hey, maybe we should all avoid mutually destructive price wars because we all make more money if the market is stable. This classic game theory grid explains it perfectly. Look, if firm A cuts its price, sure, it might win for a minute. But then what happens? Firm B cuts its price, and now they're both stuck in that bottom right box, making way less money than if they had just done nothing. Cooperative actions are all about trying to keep everyone in that much nicer, much more profitable top left box.
So, let's put it all together. This really sums up the whole journey perfectly. When you're a startup, you attack with those creative, entrepreneurial moves. As you grow and get stronger, you start to leverage your unique strengths with Ricardian actions. And then, once you're a mature leader, your focus shifts to defending your turf and stabilizing a whole industry using deterrent and co-optive moves.
So if you walk away with just one thing today, please let it be this. Strategy is not a static thing. It's alive. The real genius isn't in writing the perfect 5-year plan. It's in knowing exactly which type of action to take, right now, based on where you are in the game.
And that, of course, brings us to the final, all-important question. In this new world of constant action and reaction, where every advantage is temporary and the pace never, ever lets up, you have to be thinking about what's next. So I'll leave you with this. What's your next move going to be?